you, Shuey, your fiancée, Alicia. When's the wedding plans? You got engaged on the 30th of last year, December last year, and very special time for you.
It is, mate, it is, absolutely. So we're just going through all of that at the moment, trying to plan everything, and trying to sort out the date. Obviously, COVID sort of pushed everything back for a lot of other people, so it's a busy time. So this year's sort of out of the question. We're sort of trying to plan for early next year.
Beautiful, nice. My advice, just say yes. and Spang, baby on the way, your wife Georgie and yourself expecting in the next month or so, so that's exciting times ahead.
Yeah, our first May 7th, so fast approaching. As I mentioned before, it's one of our last few functions. We'll probably get out and about and we'll probably be on call soonish from here.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, I want to get into their footy careers because, well, you see the footy career and quite often you don't hear about the journey of where they got to, the injuries and the things that they had to go through. Obviously, Hawthorn Footy Club have got a lot of decorated players with 4 and 3 premierships to their name, but it really takes 22 or more to get there, and these guys were unbelievable. These guys were unbelievable players for the club. I'll start with you, Spang. I think your two and Max Bailey's story are three of the great, Hawthorn stories. You got drafted to the West Coast Eagles, 2005. They win the flag in 2006, but it takes you a couple of years to sort of break into that lineup. Talk us through the early days.
Yeah, my first, I'm pretty still skinny now, but I was even skinnier, believe it or not, when I first got drafted, same sort of height, and definitely needed a few years to even look like getting looking in terms of AFL footy and being ready. So in terms of my first year there in the Eagles, I was injury-riddled most of my career. I missed that whole first season with what was then a pretty popular injury, osteoarthritis, but didn't expect to play realistically anyway that year. They were a strong team, obviously only just losing the grand final in 05. So for me to be a part of that early and just see what it takes to win a flag was a really nice experience, and then you kind of hope that you're just around enough to be a part of one yourself. And after 5 years there, my footy realistically wasn't good enough, and got delisted by the Eagles and moved on to the Swans.
And did you think it was the end? The Swannies gave you a lifeline. You go up there, and they obviously beat the Hawks in the 2012 grand final. You were at the club then, but you didn't play on that particular occasion. Tell us a little bit about your Swans journey before you end up obviously coming down here, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I trained with Hawthorn before getting picked up by the Swans, so I was a train-on for 3 weeks. Had a pretty honest conversation with Clark at the time, and the best case scenario for me at that time was I got rookie spot, which certainly when you've been getting the city, more than happy to take and keep the journey going. But it didn't even eventuate because Swans drafted me relatively late in their draft that year in the end of 2010. And 2011 was a really a strange year. I'd sort of had a couple of impact injuries, but a really bad run of soft tissue injuries at the front half of 2011. And had some really good form and played, switched to a forward actually at the Swans and played predominantly as a forward there, and had some really good fun there, played some finals toward the back end of 2011, actually lost to Hawthorn in the 2011 semi-final. And then 2012 was almost giving up to sort of cement yourself in the spot after playing sort of the back end of the last 5 games in 2011, and then just a really probably horrid run of soft tissue injuries and hamstrings in 2012, and as it eventuated, it was one of those ones that was kind of in the train-on squad for the grand final in 2012. So realistically, I was never going to play for the Swans in that game in 2012. But even to be so close in terms of like in the conversation, you're in all the meetings, kind of gives you a bit of a hunger for certainly wanting to be part of it. And the way it eventuated was the Swans offered me a 1-year contract, and there was a 2-year contract on the table at the Hawks, and I just felt that I needed more time in the game, and always nice to come home. Yeah, great. We'll talk about your Hawthorn career in a minute, but Shuey, drafted in 2008, played a couple of years with you. You slotted straight into the senior side pretty comfortably, and it was a bit of a weird time at Hawthorn because we'd come off winning the flag in 08, and then we had a few bad years. But tell us about your journey as well, because missed out through injury on a premiership,
but then eventually you had the ultimate success as well, and played bloody well, by the way, didn't he? 21 disposals and 1 goal. Tell us just a little bit about your journey, because you did your knee, came over from Adelaide. How close were you to going back to Adelaide as well? Because I know that there was some pretty serious discussions about a potential trade. So early days and what made you decide to stay at the Hawks?
Yeah, no worries. All right, so yeah, I mean, I came over pretty similar to Matt. I was a pretty skinny 18-year-old, so came over with not much sort of senior game experience. I played a year in the reserves in the SAFL, so I didn't get any league exposure at that level, so I hadn't really played against full-grown men. My first year I come in, and I remember my first game was actually Hawthorn versus Geelong, so it was a rematch for the 2008 Grand Final. I think it was Friday night, opening game of the season, blockbuster, 80,000 people a game. So the first time running out of the G, and my head was just spinning. So I think I tell the story quite often. My first disposal, I tackled Jimmy Bartell on the wing, got him holding the ball, and as I was pushing back off the mark, I was actually facing the wrong way. So I was lining up to kick the ball the opposite way, and the umpire sort of had to pull me up, and that just shows how much my head was spinning at the time. So didn't touch it too often for that game, but yeah, that season I got put together a dozen games or so, and yes, it started to find my feet a little bit, but I suppose for the first couple of years I was sort of in and out of the side. Didn't really have a set position. I was sort of the wing, down back a little bit, still trying to find my feet as a young guy, I suppose. So it took me a couple of years to sort of mature. And then I sort of started to find my way in the back line. Sort of centre half back was sort of starting to lock back down, and it wasn't until I think 2012 I was able to put together a full season, got some consistency, played all 25 games. That was the year we obviously went through and unfortunately lost to Sydney, but I was able to get some consistency in my game and really gained a lot of confidence from that. So that year was pretty pivotal in my development, and then obviously unfortunately starting 2013, coming off that good year, a lot of confidence, felt mature in my body, and started the year really strong, played a couple of really strong performances in round 1, 2 and 3, and then round 4 down in Tassie was when I went down with my knee. Knew pretty much straight away, I felt the pop, and there was always a little bit of hope that it wasn't that, but I mean realistically it was down and out for 12 months. So sat on the sidelines and watched the boys win that year, win the ultimate success. But I mean I was sort of able to prepare myself mentally for that, leading up to the finals and everything. So I mean it hurt watching the boys play that, but I mean I was the club hadn't won one for a couple of years now, so it was an absolute thrill to be part of that. And then 2014.
Yeah, you played round 23, didn't you? That year?
Yeah.
And then missed out the finals.
Oh, in 14 or
14.
14. So 14, I came back and I was able to play. I think back end of the year, came halfway through, put together again some more consistent performances, but again up and down, trying to find my form and find my spot beside again. So missed out on the final series. Got dropped just before the final series that year. Wasn't playing very good footy at all. So I think I was in the training squad, but barely at that stage. And so the end of that year was probably you spoke about the crucial decision to go back to Adelaide. That was the end of that year. I sat down with Clarko and had a pretty honest conversation in his man cave. A couple of beers on one of the nights off season, so that was nice just to enjoy that in Brighton. But it was an honest conversation definitely with Clarko. He sort of said, look, I can't guarantee anything next year. Can't guarantee that you will be in our best 22. I know, if you put your best foot forward and play some good footy, that you would be. But it's ultimately up to you. So that was, I guess, the advice from Clarko. He did make mention that Stevie J was in a similar position in his career early on. Was sort of sitting on the fence about where he would go and if he would finish up, and he made a pretty crucial decision and then ended up being a wonderful player. So that was the decision I came to.
The picture I'm sort of trying to paint is that both premiership players, but if you go back through their journey, there's a lot of heartbreak as well with injury, missing out on the 2012 premiership with the Swans. That was the game you played and lost. You missed out on 2013 due to injury, and 14. Now tell us about the great moment. We'll start with you because you're a year before him. 2014, you leave the Swans. You just mentioned they offered you a 1-year deal. Hawthorn offered you a 2-year deal. You slotted into the back line. You became a cult figure for the Hawthorn supporters. Spangher, we would just go out around the ground when you go near the footy. it's great. You're in footy folklore, and you're playing probably your 10th or 11th year, 50 games, third club, and then you finally win the premiership. Must have just been a dream come true.
Yeah, I was. In many ways, it was a great day, obviously for the club, but also individually. I think in the checks and balances overall, I really enjoyed my career. But you're right, Brandy, like the highs and lows, and then I'm fortunate enough, to be part of a premiership. In many ways, it validates all the hard work that you've done, because ultimately that's what you're playing for, and it was really, it was a really special time to be at the club, not just that year, but even the 4 years I had there collectively was a really successful time at the club. In 2013, neither Chewy and I got to play in that one, but VFL won the premiership that year. I was lucky enough to play in that, and even that team now, I look back and it was like a fantastic squad, and just everything was very enjoyable about the time. And it's always easier when you're winning, I know, but just the feel around the club was fantastic. So for me personally, to culminate in 2014 and being part of that side was unreal. So and I was a little bit nervous. My prelim wasn't great. I felt I played pretty consistently in 2014, but the prelim against Port Adelaide, I was really ordinary. And Clarko, to his credit, rang me early in that week, pretty much Monday night, and just said, look, you're playing, relax, settle, enjoy the week. And that, for me, was really important, because then put all that down on my mind meant that I could actually prepare, focus on my opponent that week, which was coincidentally a good friend and an ex-teammate in Sam Reid. So for me, it was a fantastic week, and then I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Hawthorn, but it certainly makes fond of memories, that's for sure.
And Shuey, you spoke about that chat you had with Clarko in his man cave. It's a credit too that you made the decision to stay at Hawthorn and back yourself in, because I had a similar chat to Clarko. He said the exact same thing to me. And I'm pissed off with the Gold Coast. I think you had a conversation with a few of those guys as well. Geordie Lewis went to Melbourne, Xavier Ellis went to West Coast Eagles. So when he has that chat, it's usually going one way, but you backed yourself in, you stayed at the footy club, and talk us through 2015, and you had a great year. Your flexibility right throughout the course of the year was pivotal, and on the bigger stage, you dominated. What are your recollections?
Yeah, so I guess 15 actually, after that conversation, it started out and sort of eventuated similar to 14 in that there was a couple of games I played really well, a couple I sort of didn't perform as well, maybe in and out of the side slightly. So it was coming towards the back half of the year, and I sort of had memories of 2014. I dropped away. I sort of just, my fitness fell away a bit, maybe fatigued from all the rehab, I guess. And so I was coming to the back end of the year thinking, all right, I need to really sort of sharpen up now. This is the point into the season. If we're going to, compete again, I need to be there. I need to be in the side. I'm not missing out for a third time. So I was pretty determined mentally. I was sort of probably took myself to a new level in terms of desperation, I think. And it was just, I guess, the way it all played out in the end was a little bit of luck involved as well, but also, like I said, the mental aspect for me. I missed out on the first final, so I was dropped for that. I'm not sure if it was the week before or 2 weeks before, but we went across, I think, to WA and played West Coast, and the side didn't perform that well. We lost that game, and Gunners went down with an ankle injury, so there was a spot that opened up in the forward line, and that year I think we'd mostly been playing sort of three tools in the forward line, so I was one of those for most of the year, and then just the way the side shuffled around, I was sort of out of the side. Gunners went down, gave me an opportunity to come in, and came in. Gunners were out for I think 2 weeks, gave me a chance to sort of show my colours, and played two really good games, and I guess didn't really give Clarko an opportunity to drop me. The way I played is I went out there that way and nothing to lose. This is be all and end all for me. So really made it count, and then it came to the week leading up to grand final, and like I said, didn't give Clarko a chance to drop me. And then I think we went into that game with 4 tools. It happened to be a really dry day and really good ball movement. So the 4 tools worked really well. We sort of stretched them for size a little bit up forward, and then I guess the rest is history. So. Yeah, it was just obviously the culmination of a couple of years leading up to that for me was really a fairy tale. But I mean, it's all well and good in hindsight the way it's worked out with that decision to stay. But I mean, we could have gone either way. So I'm glad it went this way.
Yeah, absolutely. What's life look like now for both of you in the corporate world? What are you guys both up to?
Yeah, we just moved out of the corporate world and back in the footy. So at Collingwood Football Club. So I know I was hesitant to. Isn't it to mention that now?
What's your role there?
Operations and engagement and welfare. So most clubs taking a hit in the last 12
When
months.
did you start there?
12 months ago, effectively.
Okay, it's been a pretty tough time for the Pies.
Hasn't been a great 12 months. No, honestly, but in terms of the work itself, I'm really enjoying it. But it's certainly comes up with its challenges given the resourcing issues the clubs are facing.
Absolutely. Shui, what are you doing? Stockbroking or insurance?
Close, yeah. I was in insurance for last year, working in the finance team, so now working more as a credit analyst at a place called Wingate in the city. So
Exciting work.
make money to developers and people like Laurie.
Magnificent. Well, I'll let you have your mains. I know we're a little bit pressed for time, but two unbelievable footy stories right from the get-go, and ultimately overcome adversity and achieve the ultimate success. And not only that, but ripping people. Got a big wedding to look forward to next year and a baby. So put your hands together, please, for eat your mains and I'll be back up.